Writing by hand engages the brain more and has a positive effect on the learning process. Taking notes by hand is a rare sight these days. In schools and universities, paper and pen are replaced by digital devices. Using a keyboard may be faster than writing by hand, but as Norwegian scientists have shown, taking handwritten notes promotes learning and remembering new information. We show that brain connection patterns are much more complex when writing by hand than when typing on a keyboard, said Professor Audrey van der Meer from the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, co-author of the study, which was published in the journal Frontiers in Psychology. The researcher added that it is crucial for remembering new information and is therefore beneficial in the learning process. Various digital devices are gradually replacing pen and paper. Taking handwritten notes is becoming increasingly rare in schools and universities. However, according to recent research, writing by hand can improve the memorization process. Scientists have checked what happens in our brains when typing on a keyboard and when creating handwritten notes. For this purpose, they used a non-invasive method of examining the bioelectrical activity of the brain, i.e. electroencephalography, EEG. They collected EEG data from 36 college students who were repeatedly asked to write by hand or type a word that appeared on a screen on a keyboard. Students used a digital pen to write by hand and the writing was automatically displayed on the computer screen. When typing, they used one finger to press the keys. EEG data showed that the connectivity of different brain areas increased when participants wrote by hand. However, when they typed on a keyboard, nothing similar was observed. Our findings suggest that visual and motor information obtained from precisely controlled hand movements while using a pen contributes significantly to creating connectivity patterns in the brain that promote learning, van der Meer said. We have shown that differences in brain activity are associated with careful letter formation during handwriting with greater use of the senses, she added. Because finger movements during letter formation promote brain connectivity, researchers expected typing to have similar benefits. And yet no. It turned out that the simple movement of repeatedly hitting a key with the same finger is less stimulating for the brain. This also explains why children who learn to write and read on a tablet may have difficulty distinguishing letters that are mirror images of each other, such as B and D. These children did not feel what it felt like to write letters on their bodies, van der Meer admitted. These studies indicate the need to provide, especially the youngest students, the opportunity to write by hand. This does not have to be done using notebooks and pens. It can be successfully done using a tablet with a stylus, as was the case during the research. At the same time, it is important to keep up with the constantly evolving technological progress, so you cannot completely abandon technological innovations. It is also important to be aware of which way of writing offers more benefits. There is evidence that students learn more and remember better by taking handwritten notes from lectures. But using a computer with a keyboard may be more practical when writing a long text or essay, van der Meer concluded. The Hubble Telescope observed water vapor in the exoplanet's atmosphere. Astronomers using the Hubble Space Telescope spotted water vapor in the atmosphere of an exoplanet that was discovered a few years ago. The planet GJ9827d is a world about twice the diameter of Earth and located about 97 light-years away. At least 3 planets orbit the star GJ9827. They were spotted by the Kepler Space Telescope, which completed its mission in 2018. Research from a few years ago showed that all 3 planets are less dense than Earth and contain a certain amount of volatile substances in their composition. The largest of them and the furthest from its star is GJ9827d. Scientists have determined that the temperature on this world reaches over 420 degrees Celsius. And the planet itself orbits its star every 6.2 days. Recent research using the Hubble Space Telescope discovered water vapor in its atmosphere. The planet GJ9827d may be an example of potential planets with water-rich atmospheres elsewhere in our galaxy. The results and description of the observations were published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters. This is the first time we can directly demonstrate through detection that planets with water-rich atmospheres can exist around other stars, said Bjorn Benneker of Université de Montréal, where he studies exoplanets. This is an important step towards determining the prevalence and diversity of atmospheres on rocky planets, he added. At this stage of research, scientists are not yet sure whether Hubble allowed him to see a small amount of water vapor in the hydrogen-rich atmosphere, or whether the planet's atmosphere consists mainly of water left over from the original hydrogen-helium atmosphere, which was swept away by radiation from the star. Any result would be exciting, regardless of whether water vapor dominates or we only detected a tiny amount in an atmosphere dominated by hydrogen, said Pierre-Alexis Roy of Université de Montréal, lead author of the paper. Scientists emphasized that until recently it was not possible to directly study the atmospheres of such small worlds. Scientists are considering 2 scenarios. The first assumes that this world is a mini Neptune with an atmosphere rich in water and hydrogen. The second suggests that it is a warmer version of one of Jupiter's moons, Europa, which is estimated to contain twice as much water under its icy crust as on Earth. If the planet has a residual water-rich atmosphere, it must have formed farther from its host star, where temperatures are low and water is available as ice. In this scenario, the planet would have to migrate from the outer parts of its system to an orbit closer to the star. Once there, radiation from GJ9827 first warmed and then swept hydrogen from the atmosphere. The second idea is that the planet formed close to the star, and Hubble saw only trace amounts of water in its atmosphere. Over the past 3 years, astronomers have observed 11 transits of the planet GJ9827d. This is a situation when a planet passes in front of the disk of its star, viewed from the perspective of a viewer on Earth, which causes its brightness to drop regularly. The degree of dimming and the almost imperceptible movements of the star caused by the planet's gravitational pull allow researchers to determine its size and mass. A planet with an atmosphere passing in front of its star not only dims the light, but also changes it, depending on the chemical composition of the atmosphere. Thanks to this, scientists can determine its composition. You could say that the star's light is filtered by the planet's atmosphere and carries with it a spectral trace of the molecules within it. In this case, water. Hubble's discovery opens the door to more detailed studies of the planet, which has now become an intriguing target for the James Webb Space Telescope. Scientists plan to use the new observatory to perform infrared spectroscopy to search for other molecules in the atmosphere of g3827d. Water on such a small planet is a breakthrough discovery. It brings us closer to characterizing truly terrestrial worlds, said Laura Friedberg from the Max Planck Institute for Astronomy in Germany. The wake-up call of the Japanese lunar lander. SLIM regained power. On January 19, the Japanese SLIM lander landed on the lunar surface. However, the landing was not entirely successful. Due to problems with the positioning of the solar cells, SLIM has been disabled. But as reported by the Japanese National Space Agency, it managed to establish communication with the lander. Everything indicates that the mission, already written off as a loss, will be continued. On January 19, the SLIM, Smart Lander for Investigating Moon, lander built by the Japan National Space Agency, JAXA, touched down on the Moon on a gentle slope near the equatorial crater called Scioli. It was the most precise landing in history. Japanese scientists managed to land the probe 55 meters from the previously designated target. However, the landing did not go entirely as planned by the engineers. One of the spacecraft's two main engines appears to have lost thrust about 50 meters above the surface. The problems with this resulted in SLIM sitting in an unfavorable position and its solar cells oriented in the wrong direction, unable to generate electricity. Therefore, the probe was turned off. At a press conference immediately after landing, experts said that if some sunlight reached the solar cells, there was a chance that SLIM would come back to life. And that's exactly what happened. JAXA announced that SLIM has awakened, allowing it to continue its mission to explore the lunar surface. Contact with the probe was made on January 28. Scientists also announced that scientific observations had immediately resumed. SLIM began to study the surroundings in detail and send new photos to Earth. A JAXA spokesman told AFP that SLIM operations had resumed, probably because the solar panels resumed generating power after receiving sunlight. After landing, the solar panels faced west, i.e., away from the sun. JAXA scientists hoped that as the Moon slowly rotates, sunlight would eventually reach the panels. And so it happened. JAXA scientists admitted that they have no current intention to move SLIM to the expected landing position. They fear that such maneuvers could worsen the situation. This, of course, changes some of the tasks planned during the mission. We will prioritize what we can do now, observing and gathering information, rather than adjusting the SLIM position, a JAXA spokesman said. SLIM can now move on to other mission objectives. These are studies of the lunar regolith and local rocks. The lander was equipped with a device that could determine the composition of rocks. The camera will scan the lunar surface for traces of a mineral called olivine, which could help answer questions about the Moon's origins. However, the main goal of the mission, i.e., a successful landing as close to the previously determined target as possible, was achieved. Additionally, this was achieved due to problems with one of the engines. JAXA engineers say that even if SLIM had not woken up, the mission would still be considered extremely successful. To make up for lost time, SLIM must hurry and complete the planned tasks before the sun sets and the 14-day frosty night arrives, for which SLIM is not prepared. Additionally, it is not yet clear how long it will last. It all depends on the angle of inclination of the solar panels. Strange virus-like objects have been discovered in the human intestines. Our intestines are inhabited by countless microorganisms. They are mainly bacteria, but also fungi and viruses. Recent research has found something else. Scientists came across previously unknown virus-like objects, which they called obelisks. Currently, it is not entirely clear what they are and what their functions are. By collecting and analyzing huge amounts of genetic sequences of plants, animals and microbes, biologists continue to encounter surprises. The latest one concerns a previously unknown virus-like entity that lives inside the bacteria living in our intestines and mouth. The team of scientists from Stanford University behind the discovery called these formations obelisks. The research has not yet been peer-reviewed, but can be viewed on the bioRxiv preprint database. The recently discovered obelisks are tiny fragments of RNA, smaller than viruses, that colonize bacteria living in the human intestines and mouth. They are among the smallest known elements that transmit information that can be read by a cell. And the sequences they encode are new to science. Obelisks somewhat resemble viroids, the smallest known plant pathogens. They do not have a protein cover, i.e. a capsid, and do not encode proteins. They consist of one closed circular RNA strand. They were discovered in the 1970s in plants. But over the years the presence of viroid-like formations in animals and fungi was demonstrated, and in studies last year it was concluded that they may also be present in bacteria. Viroids are of great interest because they interact with plant genomes, sometimes in devastating ways, causing, for example, stunting or deformation of potatoes, chrysanthemums and other crops and flowers. Scientists at Stanford University in California searched RNA databases for similar-looking structures. For this purpose, they prepared a special program that made it easier for them. And they found obelisks. The search yielded nearly 30,000 structures made of closed, circular RNA strands. Each consists of approximately 1,000 bases and likely represents a distinct obelisk. Obelisks have a similar shape to viroids, but their genetic sequences are very different, suggesting that they are a separate but related group. The researchers also found that some of the obelisk sequences encoded proteins involved in RNA replication, making them more complex than standard viroids. However, like viroids, obelisks do not appear to encode the proteins that make up the envelope. In databases of human microbes, obelisk sequences were found in nearly 7%. Human intestinal bacteria and half of the bacteria found in the human oral cavity. For example, in 472 samples from North America, 6.6% people had obelisks in the intestinal microflora, and 53% respondents had them in oral bacteria. It turns out, therefore, that obelisks are widespread in the world. Because obelisks contain genes unlike any previously discovered in other organisms, they constitute a class of diverse RNAs that have colonized human and global microbiomes and gone unnoticed, the authors wrote in the paper. We are talking about colonization. but scientists have not yet found any mechanism that would enable them to do so. The obelisks appear to contain instructions for building a new class of proteins. They occupy at least half of their genetic material. Because these proteins are very similar in all obelisks, researchers suspect that they may be involved in their replication process. Currently, no one knows whether these formations affect human health in any way. They inhabit bacteria, at least some of them, and therefore can influence the human microbiome. Scientists have determined that one of their hosts is a common oral bacterium, Streptococcus sanguinis. The discovery of the obelisks also renewed the debate about whether viruses evolved from viroids, or whether viroids evolved from viruses. Obelisks may be part of this puzzle.